The battle began with a roar. Explosions lit up the sky as Earth's fleet engaged the Empire's forces in a brutal space battle. The Aegis barrier held strong, deflecting most of the Empire's initial attacks. But the Empire's ships were relentless, launching wave after wave of firepower, trying to find a weak point in Earth's defenses. On the ground, Earth's soldiers fought with unmatched determination. They held the line, defending the command center against Imperial soldiers who tried to breach the facility. Earth's forces were outnumbered, but they fought with the ferocity of people protecting their homes. As the battle raged on, it became clear that this was not just a fight for survival, it was a fight for identity. The Empire saw Earth as a small, insignificant planet, a mere obstacle in their path to galactic domination. But humanity had proved time and again that they were more than capable of standing up to the might of an empire. The Aegis barrier, though strained under the weight of continuous attacks, held firm. Commander Aline knew that as long as the barrier stood, Earth would have a fighting chance. But the Empire's final assault was brutal. They were throwing everything they had left at Earth. In a last-ditch effort, the Empire launched their most powerful weapon, a massive bombardment aimed directly at the Terran command center. It was a weapon of mass destruction, capable of obliterating the heart of Earth's defense system in one strike. But the Empire had underestimated Earth's resilience. As the bombardment began, Commander Aline issued one final order. All forces, focus fire on the enemy fleet. Hold them off. The barrier must survive. The battle reached a fever pitch. Earth's forces, with every ounce of strength they had left, fought back against the Empire's relentless onslaught. The Talon drones, Earth's most advanced technology, swarmed the Empire's ships, striking them down one by one. At the heart of the battle, the Aegis barrier held strong, reflecting the Empire's last desperate blows. The Empire's fleet, already weakened, began to retreat. Earth had done it. They had held their ground. The Empire's once mighty forces were forced to withdraw. The war was over. Earth had won. As the smoke cleared, Commander Aline and President Grayson stood together, watching the retreating Empire's fleet. Their world was safe, but the victory came at a great cost. The scars of war would remain, but Earth had proven something far more important. No matter how powerful the Empire, humanity would never back down. "We've done it," President Grayson said quietly. Commander Aline nodded. "We've shown them that Earth will never be conquered." Humanity had stood its ground. Earth had won. And in doing so, had proven that no empire, no matter how vast, could ever break the spirit of its people. The stars would remain theirs. Behind closed doors, the leaders of Earth, along with brilliant scientists and military strategists, began to formulate a plan. They would not simply accept the Council's demands. Earth had something the Council didn't expect: determination, ingenuity, and the will to fight for survival. The people of Earth had proven time and time again that they could rise above challenges. This time, they would not let the Council's betrayal go unpunished. The first step in this new plan was to ensure Earth's defense systems were strong enough to deter any further attempts to force compliance. The second step was to develop technologies far beyond anything the Galactic Council had ever seen. Technologies that would shift the balance of power in the galaxy. And the final step was to prepare the world for the long road ahead, knowing that this was only the beginning of a much larger struggle. The Council thought Earth would break under the pressure. They were wrong. And soon, they would learn that humanity was not a planet to be underestimated. The decision had been made. Earth would not bow to the demands of the Galactic Council, and it was clear that no matter the cost, humanity would fight back. But the fight would not be immediate. It would not be a sudden, explosive war, but a calculated, silent effort that would slowly shift the balance of power. Ambassador Hartley knew that Earth's survival depended on more than just a military response. It needed unity, ingenuity, and above all, patience. In the wake of the Council's sanctions, Earth's governments were in chaos. National economies were collapsing, Food shortages became common, and public unrest spread like wildfire. Protests filled the streets of every major city as people screamed for action. Some demanded that Earth's leaders negotiate with the Council to beg for mercy and try to restore trade. Others, more radical, wanted to strike back immediately, regardless of the consequences. But in the midst of this turmoil, there was a quiet group working tirelessly, preparing for the future. This group, known as the Resistance, was not just a collection of rebels. It was a network of the brightest minds from across the planet. Scientists, engineers, military strategists, and even former diplomats who had once worked for the Council. They knew that brute force would not win this battle, but that the key to defeating the Council lay in technology. The Resistance's leaders were led by a figure known only as the Architect. No one knew who the Architect truly was, but they didn't need to. What mattered was the vision, the strategy, and the ability to inspire every scientist, engineer, and soldier working toward the common goal: to turn Earth into a force the Council could not ignore. The first task was to secretly strengthen Earth's defenses. While the Council had crippled Earth's trade and resources, they had overlooked one key detail: humanity's ability to adapt and innovate. In hidden underground facilities, engineers began working on advanced energy shields capable of deflecting enemy weapons. New stealth technology was developed, allowing Earth's ships to vanish from the sight of Council sensors. While the Council believed that Earth was nothing more than a planet struggling to survive, the Resistance was quietly building the infrastructure needed to protect the planet from a full-scale invasion. At the same time, military strategists worked to develop advanced weaponry, an arsenal that would surpass anything the Council could anticipate. These weapons were not just about raw power, but about precision and stealth. Human ingenuity had long been underestimated by the galaxy, but the Resistance knew that their greatest advantage was their creativity. They didn't need to match the Council's strength. They needed to outsmart them. To ensure the survival of their plans, the Resistance maintained absolute secrecy. They used encrypted communication channels and isolated safe houses to avoid detection. Earth's leaders, too, had to play a careful game. They pretended to comply with the Council's demands, making public statements that Earth would cooperate and engage in dialogue. But behind closed doors, they knew the truth. Time was running out, and their only chance was to prepare for war, without anyone knowing. As months passed, Earth's technological advancements began to surprise even the Resistance's members. What had started as a desperate struggle for survival was slowly turning into a technological renaissance. Humanity's greatest minds were focused on creating new inventions: quantum-powered energy systems, powerful energy weapons, and even the development of a ship capable of faster-than-light travel, something the Council had believed was impossible for a species so primitive. Meanwhile, the rest of the galaxy watched Earth with a mixture of pity and disdain. The Galactic Council, confident that Earth was nothing more than a broken planet, continued to tighten its grip on the planet, further isolating it from the galaxy's most valuable resources. They thought they had won, but Earth's resistance was already underway, and they hadn't seen anything yet. The people of Earth, despite their struggles, were not without hope. Small, secretive meetings were held in every corner of the planet, whether in basements, hidden military bunkers, or underground laboratories. Scientists shared their breakthroughs, engineers tested prototypes, and military personnel trained in secret, preparing for the day when Earth would reveal its true power. And as these quiet efforts continued, Earth's leaders began to realize something important. The people, though divided by their struggles, had a deep resilience. There was a unity that had been forged in the face of adversity, a unity that was not easily broken. And as much as the Galactic Council had underestimated humanity, they had overlooked one crucial fact. Earth's greatest strength lay not in its technology or resources, but in the spirit of its people. The people who had endured centuries of war, famine, and struggle. The people who had always found a way to survive, even when all seemed lost. In the darkest moments, When the world seemed to be falling apart, the Resistance found new hope. For the first time since the Council's betrayal, a glimmer of confidence emerged among the leaders of Earth. They were no longer just preparing for survival. They were preparing to fight. They were preparing to make their stand. And when the time came, the Galactic Council would learn that the people of Earth were not to be taken lightly. The tension in the galaxy had been building for months. The Galactic Council, feeling increasingly confident in their position of power, began making bolder moves. They imposed harsher sanctions on Earth, further restricting trade and resources. To them, Earth was just a planet they could control, nothing more than a small pawn in the grand game of galactic politics. But they had underestimated humanity. They believed Earth was weak, that it would submit in time, just as countless civilizations had before. They were wrong. One cold morning, as the Earth continued to struggle under the weight of the sanctions, an unexpected event occurred. A Council patrol ship, the GSV Tempest, drifted too close to Earth's borders, violating the planet's newly reinforced security perimeter. The ship, a sleek, heavily armed vessel designed for reconnaissance, had been assigned to monitor Earth's movements and enforce the Council's harsh demands. The Tempest's crew was well-trained and experienced. They had no reason to believe their mission would be anything but routine. But as the ship entered Earth's space, something strange began to happen. First, the communication signals between the Tempest and the Council's command center began to falter. Static filled the channels, and transmissions became erratic. The ship's sensors, which were capable of detecting even the smallest changes in space, began to malfunction. The officers aboard the Tempest, initially puzzled, soon found themselves unable to explain the growing disruptions. Their sophisticated navigation systems started to glitch, sending them off course. The Tempest began to drift, helpless against the unseen forces that had begun to interfere with their technology. Back on Earth, in a concealed underground base, the Resistance's efforts were beginning to show results. The team of scientists, engineers, and military strategists had been secretly testing new technologies, including advanced cyber warfare tools capable of disrupting enemy systems. They had learned to exploit vulnerabilities in the Council's communication networks, and this was the first test of their new capabilities. When the Tempest entered Earth's space, they activated the Blackout program, a series of quantum signals designed to overload and scramble the ship's systems. As the Tempest continued to drift, its crew was in a state of panic. Officers scrambled to regain control of the ship, but their efforts were in vain. Soon, the ship was completely cut off from the rest of the fleet. Its power systems began to fail. Weapons, once so deadly, were now useless. The once mighty vessel was now a sitting target, vulnerable to anything that might come next. At this moment, the Earth's defense systems, which had been silently upgraded over the past months, sprang into action. Hidden, cloaked satellites launched from Earth's orbit. These were not ordinary weapons. No, they were far more advanced. They were electromagnetic disruptors, designed to take advantage of the Tempest's technological weaknesses. The satellites locked onto the ship's position and sent out a powerful electromagnetic pulse that disabled the Tempest's engines. The ship was left stranded in space, completely immobilized. The Council had no idea what was happening. From their command centers, they watched in horror as the Tempest disappeared from their screens, its once vibrant energy signature now nothing more than a faint flicker. It was as though the ship had vanished into thin air. The Resistance had anticipated this moment. They knew that the first strike would be small, but symbolic. The Tempest, a ship sent to assert the Council's power over Earth, was now a helpless hulk, floating aimlessly in the void. It was the first sign that the balance of power was shifting. As news of the Tempest's disappearance spread across the galaxy, the Council's leadership scrambled to understand what had happened. Panic set in among the Council members. How could this have happened? What had Earth done? The once certain confidence in their dominance began to crack. The Tempest was a message that Earth was no longer a passive, vulnerable planet. It had teeth now. It had the power to fight back. But it wasn't just the Council that took notice. Other alien civilizations, once hesitant to interact with Earth due to its perceived weakness, began to watch closely. The galaxy was a vast and complex web of alliances and conflicts, and many species had long suffered under the Council's rule. The sudden disappearance of a Council ship sent shockwaves across these oppressed worlds. Could it be that Earth, a relatively young and primitive civilization, had found a way to stand up to the might of the Council? The Resistance, though still operating in secret, was gaining momentum. They had successfully demonstrated their ability to challenge the might of the Council, and their message was being heard across the galaxy. Earth was not just a victim anymore. It was a force to be reckoned with. Back on Earth, however, there was no celebration. The disappearance of the Tempest was just the beginning. The Resistance knew that the Council would not take this defeat lightly. They would retaliate, and they would come in full force. Earth had taken the first step, but the path ahead was still fraught with danger. The message was clear. Earth was no longer just a pawn. It had become a player in the galactic game, and the Council was about to learn that humanity was not so easily crushed. The battle for Earth's future had only just begun. The disappearance of the GSV Tempest sent a tremor through the Galactic Council. What was supposed to be a simple patrol mission had turned into an embarrassing disaster. For the first time, the Council realized that Earth was not as weak and vulnerable as they had thought. The news spread like wildfire across the galaxy. Earth had successfully disabled a Council ship without firing a single shot. The implications were enormous. In the high chambers of the Galactic Council, the mood was grim. Council members from every species, who had once been united by their belief in the superiority of their collective power, now found themselves divided. Some argued that Earth was an isolated case, a fluke. Others, however, saw it as a dangerous sign that their dominance was slipping. The Council had long ruled the galaxy with an iron fist, but now, Earth, a seemingly insignificant planet, had thrown a wrench into their carefully constructed system. The Council quickly made their decision. They would retaliate. They could not afford to allow Earth to challenge their authority. If Earth's defiance was left unchecked, other planets might follow. The Council needed to send a message, a strong, unmistakable message that any further resistance would be crushed without mercy. The retaliation was swift and brutal. A fleet of Council warships, some of the largest and most powerful vessels ever built, was dispatched to Earth's solar system. These ships were designed for total domination, equipped with weapons capable of obliterating entire cities in seconds. The Council's best generals were put in charge, and they were given one order: end Earth's resistance, once and for all. The news of the fleet's arrival spread quickly across Earth. Panic set in. The global community had already been shaken by the sanctions, and now the very real threat of invasion loomed on the horizon. Governments around the world scrambled to prepare for what seemed like an inevitable attack. The Resistance, too, knew that the time had come. Their plan to defend Earth had been years in the making, but it was about to be tested in ways they had never anticipated. Ambassador Sarah Hartley, now a key leader of Earth's efforts, addressed the world in a live broadcast. Standing before the United Nations Assembly, she spoke with unwavering resolve. The Galactic Council believes that we are weak. They believe they can crush us with their fleets and their superior weapons. But they are wrong. We will not back down. We will fight. We will defend our home, and we will not rest until we stand victorious. As she spoke, the resistance forces worked around the clock to activate Earth's defense systems. Satellites that had been secretly launched into orbit over the past few months began to take their positions. These were no ordinary satellites. They were armed with weapons that were far more advanced than anything the Council had ever seen. Earth's scientists had developed energy-based weapons capable of disabling enemy ships in seconds. But the true advantage lay in the secret weapon Earth had been developing: cloaking technology. For years, Earth's engineers had been studying the cloaking technologies of various alien races. With the help of some of the brightest minds from around the world, They had finally perfected their own version. The cloaking system allowed Earth's ships to remain invisible to the advanced sensors of the Council's fleet. It was a risky maneuver, but it was their best chance to level the playing field. As the Council's fleet approached Earth, they did so with confidence. Their massive dreadnoughts, armored with thick layers of energy shields and armed with the latest in destructive weaponry, were practically invincible in the eyes of the Council's leadership. They believed that Earth's resistance would be crushed within hours. They never expected what happened next. When the fleet entered Earth's orbit, they found themselves locked in a strange silence. Their sensors could not detect any signs of resistance, nor did they see Earth's ships anywhere. The Council fleet moved cautiously, searching for any hint of Earth's defenses. They were expecting an immediate confrontation, but nothing happened. The silence only deepened their unease. Then, without warning, Earth's hidden forces struck. Stealth ships, invisible to the Council's sensors, emerged from their cloaking fields, moving with deadly precision. Their weapons unleashed a barrage of energy pulses that slammed into the shields of the Council's lead ship. The blast was so powerful that it temporarily disabled the dreadnought's energy systems, leaving it vulnerable to further attack. The rest of the fleet reacted, scrambling to defend themselves, but Earth's ships were already moving faster than the Council's sensors could keep up with. It was a perfectly executed strike. Earth's ships moved in and out of the battle at lightning speed, using their cloaking technology to avoid being targeted while delivering precise, devastating blows to the Council's ships. Within hours, the Council's fleet had been severely damaged. They had never encountered anything like this. Their ships, once thought to be invincible, were now helpless against the relentless attack of Earth's new weapons. The Council's response was immediate. They ordered their ships to retaliate, launching every weapon in their arsenal. But Earth's forces had anticipated this. As the Council fired their weapons, Earth's advanced shielding systems absorbed the energy, redirecting it back at the attacking ships. The battle escalated quickly, but the damage had already been done. The Council's once proud fleet was in disarray, and their confidence was shattered. Back on Earth, the people watched in awe as the tide of battle shifted in their favor. For the first time since the Council's betrayal, Earth was fighting back and winning. The global community rallied together, unified in the face of this unprecedented conflict. The resistance had proven that Earth was not just a victim, it was a force to be reckoned with. But the Council, bruised and embarrassed, was not about to give up. They had lost a battle, but the war was far from over. The next phase of their retaliation would be even more brutal. And Earth's fight for survival had only just begun. The victory over the Galactic Council's fleet was nothing short of extraordinary. Earth had shown its strength, and the galaxy had taken notice. The Resistance, once a secret network of scientists and engineers, was now the heart of Earth's struggle for survival. Earth was no longer a helpless planet. It was a contender ready to fight for its place in the stars. However, the Council was not one to back down easily. The battle above Earth's atmosphere had been just one chapter in a much larger war, and the Council had far more resources at its disposal than Earth could ever hope to match. While their ships had been damaged, the Council's leadership was quick to regroup. They underestimated Earth's capabilities, but now they knew they had to bring out their most powerful weapons if they were to truly defeat this new threat. The Council's response to their defeat came swiftly. They deployed a massive armada, the likes of which had never been seen before. This new fleet was not just designed for destruction. It was a war machine built for the sole purpose of eliminating Earth's resistance. This time, the Council would not rely on their ships alone. They brought with them elite forces, specialized ground troops, advanced war droids, and powerful weaponry designed to conquer any planet, no matter how well defended. But Earth's leaders, having witnessed the power of the first Council fleet, knew that the true fight was far from over. While the Resistance had scored a major victory, they could not afford to rest on their laurels. The Council would come at them with everything they had, and Earth needed to prepare for the full weight of the retaliation. Back in the hidden laboratories beneath Earth's surface, the Resistance went into overdrive. Their resources were limited, and time was running out. Earth's defense systems had already proven their worth, but the Council would not be easily defeated. It was time to take the fight to the next level. The focus shifted from defending Earth to taking the fight to the Council itself. The Resistance's scientists worked feverishly to develop a new weapon, a device capable of striking at the heart of the Council's vast empire. This weapon, a series of specialized, high-powered missiles, would be designed to disable the Council's communication networks and energy systems, crippling their ability to coordinate across the galaxy. The plan was risky. If the missiles missed or failed to detonate, Earth would be left vulnerable to the Council's retaliation. But the Resistance had no choice. They had to act, and they had to act quickly. Meanwhile, Earth's leadership worked hard to unite the fractured planet. Though some factions still called for diplomacy, the majority now recognized that there could be no peace without a fight. Humanity had to be prepared for war, and Earth's people had to stand together. The once divided nations of Earth had learned to set aside their differences and focus on the common enemy, the Galactic Council. As the new fleet of Council ships neared Earth, Earth's Resistance launched their first wave of strikes. Hundreds of cloaked ships, hidden beneath the vastness of space, fired their energy weapons at the Council's ships. The blasts were powerful, catching the Council by surprise. They hadn't anticipated Earth having the ability to attack at such a scale. But this time, the Council was more prepared. They retaliated with devastating force, launching their own missiles and energy weapons in an attempt to wipe out Earth's defenses. It was a battle like no other, technology against technology, cunning against brute force. But even as Earth's ships fought valiantly, the Council's forces were too great. Their numbers were overwhelming, and the ground forces they had sent to Earth's surface began to land. Cities were soon under siege, and humanity's greatest fear was realized. The Council was bringing the war to Earth itself. But Earth's Resistance had anticipated this move. As the ground forces began to land, thousands of soldiers, trained in secret bases around the planet, mobilized to defend their home. These soldiers were not just ordinary troops. They were equipped with the latest in defensive technology. Powered armor suits, designed to enhance human strength and endurance, were distributed to the front lines. These suits allowed Earth's soldiers to stand toe-to-toe with the Council's war droids and other elite forces. The first battles on Earth's surface were intense. Cities became war zones, and the streets were filled with the sound of gunfire and explosions. The Council's forces, armed with advanced weapons and war machines, fought mercilessly to crush any resistance. But Earth's soldiers, driven by the need to protect their home, fought back with an unrelenting spirit. They knew that this was their moment to prove that they would not be defeated. In the midst of the chaos, Ambassador Hartley addressed the world once again. She spoke of unity and determination, of the courage that every human on Earth had shown. "This is our home," she said. "We will not let anyone take it from us. We fight for our families, for our children, for our future. And together, we will show the Council that Earth will never surrender." As the battle raged on, Earth's resistance forces began to push back. The ground forces, supported by the advanced weaponry from Earth's new defense systems, fought tooth and nail to protect their cities and their people. The Council's forces, though technologically superior, found themselves struggling against the sheer willpower and ingenuity of humanity. Earth was not just defending itself. It was proving that it could fight on equal terms with the most powerful civilizations in the galaxy. But the war was far from over. The Council's response was ruthless, and they would not give up easily. Earth's soldiers knew that the real fight had just begun. The resistance was holding strong, but the Council had more forces, more weapons, and more determination to crush humanity. The battle for Earth's future was entering a new and even more dangerous phase. The war had become a brutal struggle, a test of endurance and willpower. Earth had proven itself to be a fierce opponent, and its soldiers had shown courage and determination the likes of which the Council had not expected. The once overwhelming might of the Galactic Council had been pushed back. The Resistance, now better equipped and more unified than ever, was making its mark on the battlefield. But the war was far from won. On Earth's surface, the Council's ground forces continued to wreak havoc. Cities once full of life were now battle zones. Buildings had crumbled under the force of energy blasts, and streets were filled with debris and wreckage. Yet, in the heart of the destruction, Earth's soldiers were proving their resilience. They fought with every ounce of strength they had, determined not to let their home fall. The people of Earth, despite the chaos and fear, stood together. Ambassador Sarah Hartley, now a symbol of Earth's unity, watched from a secure command center as the battle raged. The weight of leadership was heavy on her shoulders, but she had come to realize that Earth's survival depended on every individual working together. From the smallest towns to the grandest cities, humanity was united in the face of this threat. She couldn't allow their spirit to falter. But as the fighting dragged on, the Resistance knew that they could not sustain this war forever. The Council's forces were vast, and their resources seemed endless. Earth had already suffered massive losses, and the Council's war machine showed no signs of slowing down. The Resistance needed a game-changer, a way to break the stalemate, and give Earth a fighting chance to win. Far from the battlefield, in the quiet corners of Earth's secret laboratories, the Resistance's best minds had been working on something extraordinary. It was a plan so bold, so daring, that it could either turn the tide of the war or lead to the complete destruction of Earth. They had been working on a device, a weapon, that could disrupt the very core of the Council's power. It was called the Nexus Core. The Nexus Core was a massive energy weapon capable of harnessing the energy of a nearby star. It could be used to create a supercharged beam of energy powerful enough to destroy entire fleets of ships or even disrupt planetary systems. The technology was cutting edge, and the risks were enormous. The Nexus Core required precise calculations and coordination. A single misstep could lead to catastrophic consequences, not only for Earth but for the surrounding systems as well. The device had been in development for months, but the time to deploy it was fast approaching. The Council's forces were closing in on Earth, and the Resistance had to act now. The Nexus Core was their only hope of breaking the Council's stranglehold on their planet. As the Resistance made preparations, Earth's forces continued to fight bravely on the surface. The tide of battle shifted from place to place, with victories often followed by brutal counterattacks. Yet despite the chaos, there was one constant. Earth would not back down. The Council, on the other hand, was beginning to feel the pressure. They had been unable to secure a decisive victory, and their confidence was starting to waver. The destruction of their ships during the previous battle had been a massive blow to their pride, but they had underestimated the humans' ability to recover and strike back. Now, with the Nexus Core coming online, the Council found themselves facing a threat that they hadn't prepared for. The decision to deploy the Nexus Core was not taken lightly. The Resistance knew that if they succeeded, they would send a message to the entire galaxy. Earth was a force to be reckoned with. But if they failed, the consequences would be devastating. The Council had already demonstrated its willingness to destroy entire planets. If Earth was unable to harness the power of the Nexus Core, it would be the end. As the Nexus Core began its activation process, the battle on the surface escalated. The Council had launched another wave of attacks, targeting the last remaining strongholds of Earth's resistance. Earth's soldiers fought valiantly, but the numbers were against them. It seemed that the Council's forces would soon overwhelm their defenses. In the heart of the battle, Sarah Hartley received the news. The Nexus Core was ready. It was time for the final gamble. She gathered her most trusted commanders and gave them the order. It's time. Launch the Nexus Core. The device, hidden beneath the surface of Earth's largest military base, was activated. A brilliant light filled the sky as the energy from the nearby star was channeled into the Nexus Core. The device hummed with power, its core glowing brighter and brighter as the energy built up. It was a sight to behold, both beautiful and terrifying. The first blast of the Nexus core fired into space, hitting the Council's fleet with such force that it sent shockwaves throughout the galaxy. The beam tore through their ships, disabling them in seconds. The energy was so concentrated that it created massive gravitational distortions, causing the Council's vessels to lose their stability and crash into each other. The Council's fleet, once so powerful, was now in disarray. Ships that had been invulnerable to Earth's attacks were now helpless, their shields shattered and their systems fried. The Nexus core had worked. The Resistance had succeeded in delivering a crippling blow to the Council's forces. On Earth's surface, the soldiers and civilians cheered as the energy from the Nexus core's blast lit up the sky. For the first time since the war began, Earth had dealt a devastating blow to the Council. The battle was far from over, but the balance of power had shifted. Earth had shown that it was capable of defeating the seemingly invincible Council. But as the smoke cleared and the stars once again filled the sky, Sarah Hartley knew that this was just the beginning of the end. The Council, though shaken, would not surrender easily. The next phase of the war would be even more intense. Earth had made its move, and the galaxy would never be the same. The galaxy was in turmoil. The once unchallenged Galactic Council had suffered a massive blow, and Earth had proven itself capable of standing toe-to-toe with the most powerful empire in the universe. The Nexus core had turned the tide of the war, and for the first time, humanity's fight for survival seemed possible. But despite this victory, the battle was not over, and the Council was not ready to surrender. As the Nexus core's blast echoed across the galaxy, Earth's resistance forces took a brief moment to regroup. On the surface, cities were recovering from the chaos of the battle. The destruction had been severe, but the people of Earth, united by the desire to protect their home, were rebuilding with a sense of purpose and determination. The fight was far from over, but Earth had proven that it could stand its ground. Ambassador Sarah Hartley, though proud of their victory, knew the war was not yet won. The Council would surely regroup, and their revenge would be swift and unforgiving. Yet there was hope now, a glimmer of hope that had been absent just weeks before. Earth had shown that it could not be crushed under the weight of the Council's might. Humanity had fought back, and it had won a battle that would be remembered for centuries. The Council, humiliated and enraged, immediately began to mobilize its remaining forces. They could not allow Earth to remain a threat, and they would stop at nothing to reclaim their lost power. The galaxy watched as the Council's leaders met in their grand war chambers, plotting their next move. But despite their vast resources, the Council had one crucial flaw. They underestimated the resilience of humanity. In the heart of Earth's capital, the world's leaders gathered for an emergency summit. Leaders from every nation, from every corner of the planet, came together to discuss their next steps. It was clear that Earth would need to remain united, not just to survive, but to ensure that the Council could never again threaten them. It was time to rebuild Earth's defenses, to prepare for whatever the Council would throw at them next. Sarah Hartley addressed the summit. "We have shown that Earth will not bend to the will of the Galactic Council. Our people have fought bravely, and now we must continue to stand together. We will rebuild, we will strengthen our defenses, and we will ensure that humanity's future remains in our hands." The summit was a turning point. The nations of Earth, once divided by their differences, now stood united. Humanity's survival depended on their cooperation, and they knew that their strength lay in their unity. The Resistance, once an underground network, was now the backbone of Earth's military forces. Earth's people, inspired by their leaders and their soldiers, rallied together to support the war effort. As the days passed, Earth's technology continued to advance at an astonishing rate. Scientists worked around the clock, developing new weapons and defenses to protect their planet. The lessons learned from their victories and losses had made Earth stronger. New fleets of stealth ships were created, designed to strike at the heart of the Council's remaining forces. The weapons of war were not just designed to destroy. They were designed to defend humanity and ensure that the Council would never threaten Earth again. The Resistance, now fully integrated into Earth's military forces, began to launch a series of daring raids against the Council's outposts across the galaxy. These strikes were small, but they were effective. Each successful mission weakened the Council's hold on the galaxy and sent a message to their leaders. Earth would not be intimidated. Humanity's fight for freedom was far from over, and the galaxy would soon see that Earth was not a planet to be underestimated. The Council, in its desperation, began to prepare for a final assault. Their remaining forces were assembled into a massive fleet, ready to crush Earth once and for all. This was their last chance to restore their control over the galaxy. They had nothing left to lose. But the Resistance had anticipated this move. As the Council's fleet approached Earth, they found themselves facing an entirely new threat, one that was far more advanced than anything they had encountered before. Earth's new fleet, equipped with state-of-the-art technology and backed by the full strength of the planet's military, was ready. The final battle for Earth was about to begin. The Council's fleet arrived in Earth's orbit, massive ships of war brimming with advanced weaponry. But this time, Earth's forces were ready. The first wave of stealth ships launched their attack, their weapons lighting up the dark expanse of space as they struck at the heart of the Council's fleet. The Council retaliated, but their weapons seemed almost ineffective against Earth's new defenses. Each strike from Earth's ships was calculated, precise, and devastating. The battle raged for hours, the fate of the galaxy hanging in the balance. Earth's forces held their ground, refusing to yield. In space, and on the surface, the fight was relentless. The Council's ships began to fall, one by one, as Earth's forces used their superior tactics and advanced technology to dismantle the once invincible fleet. As the final Council ship was disabled and sent plummeting into Earth's atmosphere, the galaxy watched in stunned silence. Earth had done it. Against all odds, humanity had defeated the Galactic Council. The war was over. On Earth, the people celebrated their hard-won victory. They had stood up to the most powerful empire in the galaxy and proven that no force, no matter how strong, could break their spirit. But this victory was more than just a military triumph. It was a testament to humanity's ability to survive, adapt, and overcome. Ambassador Hartley stood on the steps of the United Nations, looking out at the world she had fought to protect. The battle had been long, and the road ahead was uncertain. But one thing was clear: humanity's future was in their own hands, and for the first time, Earth's place in the galaxy was secure. The dawn of a new era had begun, one where Earth would not just survive, but thrive. And as the sun rose over a war-torn Earth, Sarah Hartley knew that this was only the beginning of humanity's journey in the stars.